Hello, Ignite. Clap if you can hear me. We have some friends who are lingering at the bar, which is a great place to be. Although we are just about to get started with our second half of the show, so if everybody could grab a seat. Wow, you all listened to me. That's amazing. Thanks. Thanks, everybody. In a moment, I'd like to welcome our sixth speaker to the stage, Thea Pozell. Thea is a self-described, just want to state that for the record, lifelong weirdo who has called Austin home for 8 years. And when she is not working, Thea can be found immersing in nature, going adventuring with her very patient fiance. And tonight, her talk explores the idea that life is both beautiful and dark. Thea challenges us to explore themes of gratitude and impermanence through the unconventional theme of dead birds. Please welcome to the stage, Thea Pozell.
Y'all, I was a weird kid. I was smart, curious, but sad, gifted in all the ways that make adults really like you at first. So I played outside a lot, I built fairy houses, but I was also consumed by a darkness that I didn't yet understand. In 1994, I realized for the first time that death could be beautiful as I said a tearful goodbye to my beloved rat Natalie, and I learned that in death, her beady red eyes had become a cloudy blue-gray. I was disturbed, and I was mesmerized. And today, I'd like to take you through a catalog of moments and memories and reinforced lessons in the form of bits and bones and bodies of dead birds. So please bear with me. And for the sake of time, I'll skip ahead about 25 years to July of 2020, when on a pandemic walk alone in Texas, in a time of global grief and uncertainty, this beautiful, haunting dead bird appeared in my path like Icarus himself. And so I snapped a photo and I posted it to Instagram. And a few weeks later, I found another dead bird, and then another and another. And the birds just kept coming on good days, on bad days, on days when I felt like giving up, and sometimes just on days where I'd forgotten that there's always both darkness and light. That winter, during a transition in my own life that was filled with both loss and exhilarating possibility, this freshly transitioned beauty appeared in my path to remind me that the cracks are always where the light gets in. There is always darkness and always light, always. But the fact that I personally have struggled so hard to hold on to the beauty in this world made the emergence of these gifts more significant to me. I didn't choose the dead bird life. The dead bird life chose me. And I didn't choose this deep, abiding awareness of our fragility and the beauty that brings with it. And I've tried so many times to rid myself of it, but I've come to believe that to feel the full spectrum of emotion so deeply is a gift. I try to channel this gift in my professional life as a lawyer and as a professor. And one day, as I took my social work class outside and we sat down in a circle ready to process the heaviness of this world, my hand landed on this vertebrae bone. And so I posted it to Instagram. And slowly, people started sending me pictures of the dead birds that they found. And this was actually really beautiful to me because it showed me that the people in my life pay attention to me, even and especially to my weird and dark parts, and that they love me anyway. And I think you'll find that if you're brave enough to share those parts of yourself with the people you love, the weird things about you are probably some of the things that they love the most. So from Austin to Seattle, to Colorado, to Cleveland, to Milwaukee, New York, Colorado, Japan, and even Iceland, we started connecting over this practice of appreciating the beauty in darkness. And it kind of became my thing, in much the same way that my professional practice has required me to lean into the darkest parts of humanity and find light there. Summer of 2022 was consumed by an effort to demonstrate that my client, neglected and broken as a child and sentenced to death for a crime he committed 71 days past his 18th birthday, had changed, that he was no longer defined by the darkest parts of his younger self. And my clients are people who have been sentenced to death or who are facing the death penalty. And in these spaces, the darkest places of grief and horror and loss, I have found humans who are profoundly changed. who are filled with remorse and who, despite or perhaps because of their circumstances, have managed to not only find the light, but become it. Now, I'm not a religious person, but I can't ignore the fact that these reminders of the beauty and paradox of our impermanence come to me just when I need them the most. And they just keep coming. So on days where I don't know what to do, on days where I feel a little shaky, I keep my eyes on the ground a little more. Now, last summer was tough. I was in trial, and as my team struggled to honor a community's loss and grief and rage, while at the same time fighting for the humanity of a person that I had come to know and care about, we were tearing ourselves open, and this bird crossed my path. And just a few weeks later, when that jury rejected the death penalty, they said, no more death, not in our names. We condemn the sin, but not the man. This reminder of our inextricable intertwinement appeared to my teammate, and she sent it to me. And finally, last month, in the midst of global grief and unfolding genocide, it was my partner's birthday, and as I stood outside Party City feeling all sorts of conflict about the dichotomy between Spider-Man plates and mass graves, this eyeless reminder that there is always both. There's always both. Joy and horror, love and suffering, eternity and impermanence. And that is the beauty of it all.
Thank you, Thea. Raise your hand if your spine is tingling just a little bit. Yeah, it's beautiful. Our next speaker tonight is Artemio San Martin. He is a tech strategy and business operations executive. He has served global organizations in multiple industries. He is passionate about diversity and inclusion and has served on a wide array of nonprofit boards. In tonight's talk, Artemio shares a story about how he uncovered a hidden talent and built resilience along the way. Please give a warm Ignite welcome to Artemio San Martin.
So here is where it all started for me. Mexico's Independence Day and Hispanic Heritage Month in September 2020. And I was craving an iconic dish from my hometown, Mexico City, tacos al pastor. I could practically smell the sizzling marinated meat on the vertical skewer and imagine the vibrant colors and mouth-watering aromas from growing up in one of the largest cities in the world. But we were in a global pandemic. COVID was rampant, health guidance was confusing, and even though Austin had great taco places, we decided to stay home for the sake of our then 3-year-old daughter. This new normal forced us to adapt to a new way of life. But it also allowed us to uncover hidden talents and skills to help us navigate and cope with grief, uncertainty, and complexity. At that moment, I decided to recreate this delectable, yet elaborate dish myself. And you know, it turned out to be pretty good, I guess. You know, even though I thought cooking was really a very hard thing to do, it required extraordinary skills that I didn't have. To my surprise, my homemade tacos al pastor turned out really, really good. Not just good, but really, really tasty. The first bite was an explosion of flavor, smoky, spicy, and so savory. This achievement was crowned with happy faces, empty plates, and started a journey of culinary exploration. Almost every Sunday for over 3 years, I got to experiment with new ingredients and flavors. With travel restrictions, we rely on our taste buds to tour the world. Our kitchen and our dining table became a mosaic, of colorful mosaic for us to try different dishes from different cuisines. So what are some of the lessons I've gathered through this culinary voyage, and how can they be applied to life more broadly? There is a world of wisdom from seemingly simple activities like cooking. First, dare to try new things. The initial step is always, might be the most difficult, but it often leads to the discovery of newfound passions. It's like stepping onto a new and exciting path. Second, seek inspiration and nurture your curiosity, whether through a book, a show, or a conversation, inspiration can be the catalyst that fuels your drive. It's like the spice that enhances the flavors of life. Third, put a spin on everything you do. Trust your instincts and add a dash of creativity to whatever you are working on. It is like taking something from beautiful to truly remarkable. Above all, remember that success builds upon success. And hidden talents are like precious gems just waiting for their moment to shine. In the midst of chaos, hidden talents offer a source of comfort and resilience. I discovered that the therapeutic process of cooking actually extended beyond the creation of delectable dishes. Chopping veggies and stirring sauces became my way to stay in the moment. I learned to roll with the punches when things didn't go as planned in the kitchen. Miscalculated cooking times and ingredient measurements were all part of the fun that led me to become more resilient. Most importantly, our family grew closer over shared experiences. Nurturing my creativity in the kitchen had a profound impact on how I tackle life's challenges, giving me a fresh perspective. So tonight my message to you is simple. Embrace new challenges, for they have the potential to unveil hidden talents and transform your life in unexpected ways. Growth resides within you. Success builds upon success. Success in one area of life often paves the way for success in other areas. As you venture onto your own journey, you'll train your mind to identify opportunities, visualize patterns, and forge connections. So let me take you back to our kitchen and dining table, where cooking has granted me the opportunity to understand a life perspective from a different standpoint, helping me clarify that how elements come together to create something extraordinary. I encourage you to explore and nurture your hidden talents. You might be surprised for what you can find. May your journey of self-discovery be as delightful and fulfilling as your favorite dish. Thank you.
Thank you, Artemio. The other night when we were dry running this together, I was thinking that it was very unfair because we don't serve any food at Ignite. Now that we're all a little bit hungry. Thank you. Our next speaker is Francesca Budasheim. She's worked in the mental health field for 15 years and has lived in Austin since 2012, where she also teaches yoga in all forms. Fran created Low Key Spiritual to meld traditional talk therapy with somatic work, helping people everywhere have a more accessible approach to their mental health. Her talk tonight is about learning to ride the waves of one's own inner healing through the medium of nostalgia. Please welcome to the stage, Francesca Budasheim.
Hi, I'm Francesca, and I am the child of emotionally immature parents. I am a survivor of adult and child sexual assault, and I'm also a divorcee, and it happened all by the ripe age of 30. I promise it's going to get better from here. But I'm here to tell you how a little digital creature from the 90s helped me change all that. So I always wanted a pet growing up. I was not allowed, but the 90s truly delivered. You could have a Furby. I definitely had that, Neopets, and the infamous Tamagotchi. And if I'm aging myself, I think we might all know, but Tamagotchi is this little digital pet that you fed and you played with, and you hoped to the high heavens that in between school and sports and being grounded, that it wouldn't die and you wouldn't have to start over the next day. And it's just, terrible. And I was utterly obsessed. And I'm not sure when, how, why, where I lost my Tamagotchi, but whenever I think about it, it really does bring me so much joy in my heart. And considering all the things that I've been through, I've always considered myself pretty resilient. But that has its downside, right? Because when I was in this dark place of depression, I was trying to stave off any desire or need that I could get help, right? I thought I could do it on my own. You know what I did do? I drank a lot. And, you know, I bought a lot of things with money I didn't have. Peep the shoes. All because I thought that hit a dopamine would save everything. And, you know, it didn't. So after I was consistent with therapy and I found a medication that worked for me, I was able to really hit head on what I really needed to focus on, which was my hurt inner child. There's little Francesca in front of the fireplace. And we all have an inner child, if you didn't know. So our inner child is this little us. It's the little us that is scared, that is excited, that's disappointed, that's confused. And when you connect with your inner child, you're able to have a more present and impactful relationship with your adult self. Now, the brain's a strange thing. It prefers the devil we know versus the devil we don't, which means it would rather stay in suffering because it's familiar versus shining a light on something and maybe having to experience a little bit more discomfort because you're trying to heal. So you could say our brains are pretty smart, but also fairly dumb. They don't actually know whether you're thinking about a memory or if you're experiencing that memory right now in this moment. So that is really where nostalgia comes in. Nostalgia is essentially anything that we've connected to within our past that brings us joy. So when we were with that thing, everything just felt so grounded and we felt amazing and everything else really fell away. And what we know about nostalgia is it decreases symptoms of depression, it decreases symptoms of anxiety, and it increases this feeling we have of safety and groundedness. So enter the infamous Tamagotchi. So instead of doubling down on my lows, I scooted my little fingertips off to Amazon and I primed that puppy right to my house. And I found with so much joy in my heart that I was able to provide this thing, this care that I did not receive, even though it lived in a little screen. So with each game I played, with each meal I fed it, I could feel my inner child getting the care that I did not receive growing up. So you could say that this Tamagotchi was a little life vest that helped me float on those rough waters of healing. Now, we all have traumas, maybe big traumas that I mentioned earlier, or these tiny traumas that are almost seem inconsequential. They're these little things that build up and build up over time, and they cause suffering. We also all have a Tamagotchi. It could be a show, a CD, a game that you played that everything else fell away. There was no problems. There was no yelling, there was no screaming, there was no fighting. So what I encourage you to do right in this moment, or I invite you to do, is close your eyes, please, and imagine your Tamagotchi. What is that thing that when you were with it, I mean, you were unstoppable? And my challenge to you is to hold on to that and to rewrite your story and to know that you get to fill in the missing pieces that someone else couldn't do for you. And when you do that, you're telling your inner child that you're in charge now, that you're going to prioritize them again and again and again, no matter what.
Thank you, Fran. Audience participation, does anyone want to shout out what their Tamagotchi was? Sorry, second row, say again? Music and dancing, good ones. Anyone else? Friends. Amazing. Mr. Rabbit. I'd like to hear more about that. Good conversation for after we leave. We have just 2 speakers left to go tonight, and I'd like to, first of all, acknowledge all of you for being such an amazing audience tonight. So give it up for yourselves. Beautifully done. And one more time for our fantastic partners, Bird Design and Maddie Wynn Photography. So Ignites happen all around the world. There are communities in Europe, in Asia, in South America, everywhere that you can think of. And it was astounding to me that we did not have one here. So our goal is to continue to grow this, for us to exponentially grow our community tonight. And we can do that with the help of vendors. So if you're thinking to yourself, I'd really love to help support, grow, Ignite as we move forward. Please come and talk to me after the show, and I can share with you how we'll do that. I'd like to welcome our 9th speaker to the stage tonight, Elizabeth Vaughn. Elizabeth Vaughn considers Austin home, but has people in Detroit. She's a mother of 3, oldest of 5. Thank you. Sorry about that, Tanya. Not just a little preview, it's really good. She's a mother of 3, oldest of 5, and terrible at karaoke. She is a senior event planner by day, but transforms into DJ Lady MC Beth by night. Elizabeth's talk will give us permission to know ourselves, have a good time, and live life out loud. A big round of applause for Elizabeth Vaughn.
Hello. Okay, there we go. Okay. Thank you. We're gonna start my time over because I only get 5 minutes, so I gotta make it last. Okay, it's 10 p.m. I'm wearing a silver bodycon, white go-go boots past the knee, 2 pounds of hair extensions, and blinking LED sunglasses. 1,200 teenagers are anxiously awaiting the next club remix. They've started swarming both sides of my booth, wanting to request songs. So I lean in, what would you like to hear? Can you just play something good? Hi, I'm Elizabeth, 40-something mom of 3 that DJ'd her son's high school prom. Now, you may be asking why in the world I would possibly want to subject myself to the ridicule and judgment of high schoolers a second time around. It's because I'm a pleasure seeker. More specifically, I'm a champion truffle-hunting, pleasure-seeking pig, as nicknamed by my little sisters. So I probably was born this way, but an interesting alchemy of my parents' messy divorce, being the oldest of 5, multiple moves, and just general 80s childhood chaos meant I had to make my own fun. And while it's looked different throughout my life stages, I have consistently honed my ability to have a good time. No matter the situation, I find the fun truffle. So, like most parents, having kids changes the way fun looks. I mean, maybe even a lot. And while I love them dearly, being responsible for the daily emotional, physical, and snack needs of children is exhausting. Not to mention maintaining a relationship, a career. It's all a lot. So, kids or no kids, the erosion, we all have commitments that can slowly erode our sense of self. We give our time and energy away all day long, and our identities take a hit. The erosion of my sense of self was as dirty as the decline, was as stealthy as the decline of dirty 6th Street. So, after the pandemic, I came up for air. My kids didn't need me as much, and I took a hard look at what I was gonna do with my one precious life. I turned to social media, but found what it suggested would restore my joie de vivre pretty much involved exercise, decorating, and wine. There's also this weird social pressure to maximize free time. When did just having a good time go out of fashion? So I narrowed it down to 3 things and made my own personal Venn diagram. When I rediscovered how much I loved dancing, I just couldn't get enough. So many nights after coming home from events in Austin, I'd head to the bathroom, put in my AirPods, and dance all alone for hours, sweaty dance for hours. With a $20 disco light, I'm literally fucking J-Lo. So I recently Googled the benefits of dancing on the brain and was not surprised to find that dancing is the equivalent of doing all the drugs at the same time. So I unexpectedly found my new passion at surprisingly, a neighborhood garage party, birthplace of Lady MC Beth. The speakers were set up, the lights were set up, but no one was playing music. So I stepped up with my 24-hour dance playlist and DJ'd the night. It was total debauchery. I mean, 60 middle-aged friends coming together in a garage was unlike anything I'd experienced since having kids. Music, dancing, togetherness. I found my new drug of choice and a paying hobby. While I love it. It's hard, and the dance floor can go from packed to empty with a single wrong song. There's also been a ton of self-doubt because let's be real here. There's not a lot of crossover between the go-go boot-wearing moms and the carpool moms, except for this one Reddit user that I'm gonna find. So well-meaning friends have been curious, and others, well, let's just say I'm gonna rebrand their overly vocal opinions as fan theories. One such theory is that I'm just trying to relive my youth in a really public, cringy way. But what I want them and you to know is that we are all different by design. And my happy may look completely different than your happy, but that's what makes life so interesting. The thing that makes me sing is bringing the people together for one great ABBA song. Prioritizing the thing that makes you sing doesn't mean doing more, it means being more for yourself. And just like all great dance parties, the world needs a whole lot more of you being exactly who you are. So Lady MC Beth and I give you permission to be and do what you love. And if you want to turn your bathroom into a late night disco, I leave you with my 24-hour dance playlist.
Thank you so, so much. Amazing. We're down to our final speaker of the evening, and wow, it's been a ride tonight. Thank you for your time and attention. Thank you for just being here and for going on the journey with us. I will say a couple more words when we finish, but I want to bring up our final speaker of the night. Brett Vervoort is a writer and comedian based out of Austin. She's a regular at the Moon Tower Comedy Festival and has opened for Bob Saget, Janine Garofalo, and more. And while we all experience loss in our lifetimes, Brett found out what it was like to be up close and personal with that experience when she fulfilled a woman's dying wish, throwing her a living wake. Please welcome our final speaker for tonight, Brett Vervoort.
When I first met my boyfriend's mother, I introduced myself to her as a stand-up comic. She took my hand in hers and said the three most powerful words one woman could say to another: don't be poor. But that was Gail, rich, irreverent, and incredibly direct, like Lucille Bluth if she were kind. These were the qualities that made you love her and made us sad to lose her when she was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer in May of last year. When my boyfriend and I received the news, we asked her if she had any final wishes. Without missing a beat, she declared that she wanted a living wake. The idea of a funeral never sat right with her, she said. God forbid there was a party held in her honor that she wasn't allowed to attend. The eternal hostess, Gail, had hosted lavish parties and get-togethers for her friends over the years. She would throw these multi-course affairs on her curated collection of designer fine china where people would eat and laugh into the early hours. And the wake was to be no different. On the day of, the house was teeming with people. We had spent weeks trying to find sushi that she had deemed acceptable. And then when the menu suddenly changed from sushi rolls to lobster rolls, we ran with it. When she wanted a bartender, I begged a couple of my friends to help run drinks. When she asked me to MC the talent show, I had my doubts, but I said yes, obviously. The last thing either of us wanted to do was disappoint a dying woman and be haunted by a ghost asking, "Where are my grandchildren?" The house was busy with people. My boyfriend was like sending out lobster rolls to order. My friend was running drinks. At the same time, I'm watching her attorney fret over floral arrangements that he himself had made, while her financial planner tuned the piano in the living room. Friends, families, and neighbor all piled into the living room one by one, and she received them like a queen at her coronation. Years before, Gail had gifted me a book on hosting parties, and I remember one piece of advice that said you should always ask your guests to bring something. Doesn't matter if it's wine or ice or extra chairs, but by giving them this responsibility, you have in a way made them responsible for the outcome. And in a way, in a sense, it's their party too. And as I'm watching her two gay neighbors, Brad and Lad, real names by the way, lead a cheer of inebriated seniors to spell out her name, I realized that's exactly what she had done. She had drafted us all into our roles, and we played them beautifully. We laughed, we sang songs, we drank the place dry, which was pretty impressive considering the amount of medication I'm sure some folks were on. I mean, she had me tell jokes, for God's sakes, to a room full of people with diagnosed heart conditions. Jokes to a woman dying of terminal lung cancer. Have you ever tried to be funny in front of people breathing from oxygen tanks? Because I do now. What I love about Gail is that she's a real straight shooter. What I love even more is that she's so short she can only clip me at my knees. How short is she? Gail is so short that when we took her in for her radiation appointment, I thought she was going to be put in the big whirring room along with everybody else. But wouldn't you imagine my surprise when the doctors just picked her up and popped her in the microwave for 30? It killed. Weeks later, her illness took a turn for the worse, and she passed in the night. And I remember her friends and distant neighbors and distant relatives calling us up and asking when the funeral services were going to be held, and we had to tell them we already had it. The party, the wake, that was it. Oh, they said, it was a fun party. And it was. And I wish I could wrap this all up for you in a neat little bow and tell you what it all means. But the truth of grief is that I am still untangling my emotions from the sheer profundity of her loss. If I can have one hope, it is that by telling you all this story and by telling you about Gail, that you will, in a way, be responsible for bringing your own meaning to the events. In a sense, it's your party now, too. And should you choose to take that responsibility on, which I hope you do, I hope it makes your lives all the richer, because it was Gail herself all those years ago that told me, don't be poor. Thank you.
That was amazing. And I think Gail would be very, very proud, even though she might not tell you. I just want to say thank you to everybody who made tonight possible, and I would like all the speakers to stand up and come onto the stage, please. It's not very often that you get to do something for the very first time, so as a cast, I think we should take a bow. If you had a great time tonight, it would mean the world to us if you would promote this on your socials. We want to hopefully do another one of these, maybe in May, so stay tuned. And again, thank you from the bottom of our hearts, and have a great night.